Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Osayo Mestali, and today we have a full house. Hey, there is the Pepedem gang. Elsie Godwin, all lovely in her Ronnie coils.
Thank you, darling.
Everybody thinks that we are wearing the same hair. Please, we're not wearing the same hair. My hair is called Nora. Her hair is called Ronnie.
I have accepted that it's difficult to defend that.
Like,
but it's fine.
like I can't connect with you guys' pain because nobody's like, doesn't it look like that? And I'm like, no, it's just different. This is Serena. It's just different on its own.
But it's really nice.
I know, I love it. Like on during the weekend, we had this pamper treatment and
so
just hair installation and all that. And when we were done, I was just blushing and gushing everywhere. Like, I love my hair. I love my hair. You know. So it was a fun weekend. I'm so happy for the experience.
Yeah. How are you, Sandra Eze?
I am very well. Thank you. It's been an intense couple of days. It's like my days are always intense and demanding. And sometimes I feel like I could use more hours in the day. But I'm so proud of myself because everything I set out to achieve, I achieved all of it. Maybe except for 2, which I still have the chance to redeem 1, save for 1. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm good. Life is good.
Also, I love your outfit. You look really good. So how was your weekend?
My weekend was good, bad, high, low. Started with the lush hair, right? And we went to make our hair.
Yeah.
It was fun seeing you ladies away from the studio. It was really nice. And then Sound Sultan died. And then everything went down. And then my grandpa died. I've spoken about him on the show before, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
the oldest man in your village.
He's finally dead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
but that's a celebration.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a celebration.
Though,
but I had a personal reason. I wanted him to stay alive, but it's so good.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I binge watched Sex Life on Netflix over the weekend.
How was that?
It was good.
I don't even remember last time I watched Netflix.
So I haven't had great internet. They've been coming, we've been paying subscriptions, it's not been working.
It's not working.
So sad thing is that nobody's always at home. So thankfully now that the boys are back, so hopefully they will be able to find somebody at home when they want to come and fix it, because they've been calling, they want to come and fix the internet, but there's hardly nobody at home. So
I think for me, the only program I watch right now in my life, okay, aside from our show and a couple of other newsy shows, is Joda and Akbar on Z World.
Oh goodness.
I know, don't even say it.
Oh goodness.
I love it.
You should just say that.
I love it, you guys. It's a great show. I
Where's
love
your
it.
Indian dance? Please do the head dance.
I like.
Try Z World.
Oh,
I cannot.
Like, both of you are single. Future husband. This is what you will do with you.
Come on now.
One.
Z World, no.
One is she's here to spend your money and look good.
By the grace of God.
That's
and God
one.
will provide for you.
The other one.
The other one
take you
is
to church.
purpose. I am purpose driven, like so visionary.
So it's me that's not purpose driven.
I don't know. They say you want to talk money. Me, I want to talk money, but I'm purpose driven.
I don't need to be
I'm
deep,
very.
please. Thank you. Let's leave it there. Thank you so much.
But I had a fun weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, highs. Yeah, my boys came back. Thankfully, they came back hale and hearty, no accidents and all of that. You know, came back home. Then again, of course, South Sultan. It was not so good. And of course, my son, my other son from my sister, was his birthday on Sunday. So we had soap. I ate
Cake.
They did not believe what I ate. They said, well, you're not dieting. I said, no,
not today.
No.
We live to fight another day.
Not today. As in, I was ordering. Faith was saying, why did she wait for me to come before she ordered her own? Because she ordered one funny Indian food that she didn't understand the taste. By the time I came, I broke down from starter all the way to dessert.
How about? Inside the small stomach.
I'm telling you, but we shared.
I mean, like food.
Oh, okay.
It's you that influenced me, actually.
Elsie
knows how to pick.
No, was I there?
From the menu.
Was I there?
No, you were not. I said you influenced me already.
I influenced you on everything.
Yes,
your vainness is Elsie.
Yes, it
Your
is.
stubbornness is Elsie. Okay.
It is.
Your money better be Elsie too, right? And pay the tithe.
All right, so we're having an interesting conversation today. We're talking the population, Nigerian population. and the impact on the economy. And here's what we found as today's quote. Overpopulation in various countries has become a serious threat to the well-being of many people and a grave obstacle to any attempt to organize peace on this planet of ours, as from Albert Einstein. I mean, this was many years ago, and he quoted this,
Still
and it's very
valid.
relevant. All right, so Nigeria has the largest population in Africa. That's according to the United Nations, and they project that the overall population of Nigeria will reach about 401.31 million by the end of 2050. So what does this mean, right, for the Nigerian economy? Zeal Akariwe is here to talk to us, but first, let's take a break to see what we found in the news. You're still watching Ways Now. International Malala Day is celebrated every year on July 12th to salute the Pakistani activist, that's Malala Yousafzai. How do I pronounce her surname?
Yousafzai.
Yeah. As she marks her birthday. So Malala, who now works for women's rights to education across the globe, was never allowed to enter school as a young girl. At age 17, Malala was the youngest recipient ever of the Nobel Peace Prize. The day also honors the right of children and women. Malala was born in Mingora, Pakistan on July 12, 1997. So first of all, we'll say happy birthday to Malala. And, you know, again, she keeps reminding us that there are girls, young girls like us and women that are not allowed, you know, to have a formal education.
Well, you know the thing
I'm
I
very
admire.
happy that, yes.
Yeah, you know the thing I really admire about Yousafzai, Malala, you don't, at this era, you don't find a lot of us. I mean, you have Martin Luther's era, Nelson Mandela's era. You don't get a lot of people in this age, within our age bracket, that are willing to die for what they believe in. And that's one of the things I respect about Malala. Like, she's all about education, and she's looking people, opposing forces in the faces and telling them, listen, this is what I stand for, you know. So I really respect that about her. I think that's one of the things that makes a major leader, your ability to be so convinced about what you stand for. Yes, yeah. And you know, despite the death threats and all that, I respect her for that.
So it is. I mean, she's worth all the attention and all the celebration. Yeah, she is. All right. So who are we starting with? I'll come to you, Elsie Godwin.
Okay. What I found in the news here, I'm taking this story because of what we're discussing today, and also because yesterday was World Population Day. So yesterday, marking World Population Day, the UN laments the erosion of women's reproductive rights, being one of the fallouts from the COVID-19 pandemic. The UN is calling for access to sexual and reproductive health services for women. The Secretary General underscored the need to close the gap, stating that with the onset of the pandemic, resources for sexual and reproductive health services were redirected. So right now they want to do everything possible to, I mean, we were behind anyway. Right now we are now even years backward again. So it's just to commemorate today and to say that the rights need to be upheld and people need to have access to sexual and health reproductive care. So yeah, I guess we'll be talking about that.
Yeah, I'll talk about, because I think somewhere around my script there's something around, there's a decline in our what's it called, birth rate. Yes, there's a decline. That's, I mean, some report that I saw. But I'll come to you, Sanzi. We'll talk more about population when we start the conversation for today. But let me come to you, Sanzi. What did you find first? Right.
So I'm going to Unizik, which is my alma mater. I studied at Namjazgo University, Oka. So here in the news, the students are protesting. They blocked Enugu-Onitsha Expressway, saying that because they are protesting the hike in school fees. According to them, the reports I read in the papers, it's the school fees was increased to 500,000. But I called someone, a very, what do I put it, a reliable source who is at Unizik. And then she said that, I don't know what these guys are talking about, that I didn't witness anything. And then that the school fees there was an increase, but it went from 26,000 to 50 something thousand, and then right now it's about 100 and something thousand, and then the acceptance fee is about 50,000, which is a different fee, and there is another one for biometrics. So at the end of the day, this is within like 200,000 for admission. So
where they got the figure of 500,000?
Yeah, we don't know. And even the school, the acting head of information and public relations, Chika Ene, denied the alleged increase. So I'm not quite sure what the paper is reporting, but I think it's worth being mentioning.
More,
yes.
Yeah. It's important that we actually ask, because you know sometimes this is what we say about news headlines. It's very sensational, right? So I'm happy that you put that call through to someone that is currently paying the school fees. The person is telling you that this is not.
But sometimes your school fees differ.
It might be for a particular course.
Yeah,
I was just going to go there about medicine, for instance. I'm sure medicine will be higher. So it depends on what the person is studying.
Well, this is a science student too.
No, it's not about science. General science is fine, but when you're studying courses like medicine, it's usually really high. Yeah.
Okay, well, they didn't specify which
of the
department.
So we'll dig in. It would be nice to actually just keep tabs on that and let's see what's happening there. Yeah. So my story is also linked to increment. As we are talking population, says the headline says from Premium Times says more hardship for Nigerians as BUA joins Dangote. It's actually called Angote to increase.
It's called what?
Yes, the D is silent. To increase cement price. So BUA, which reported a profit of about 72.3 billion last year, they actually pledged to maintain their price and meet all the economic decline and all of that. But marketers say that this has since changed. So according to the report, that the cement marketers are saying that there's a high price of cement right now. The BUA Group increased their prices, I think, about 200 naira per bag. So a current bag of cement goes between 3,000 and 4,000 naira. And this is also happening at a point where there's a high demand of cement. So I'm wondering, what is the cause for the increment? Is it that the capacity to produce more is lower? Maybe that's why. So they have limited stock, so they hike the price, or why exactly?
Or limited limestone,
no, we
maybe
can't
power.
have limited resources. Maybe just limited production capacity, because they can't produce so much. So the limited numbers that they have, they hike the prices, because I really don't understand. We should be thinking of, because these things are actually raw materials that are readily available in Nigeria.
Right.
So why should the prices of things like this go high? It's just
maybe it's manpower. Okay, here is the simple math, I think, sorts everything out. So prices of food in the market is obviously like really high. So if I'm working for you and producing all these things and you're paying me like, let's say 10,000 naira, which is, I'm just assuming, and then I go to the market and my 10,000 naira cannot buy something again. Obviously you have to increase my pay.
Do you think they increase anybody's salary?
I think maybe I'm just
although
playing
when
the devil's advocate.
The BUA Group, they said that they have actually not increased though, because the rumors are they increased their bags by 300 naira per bag. But they said the BUA Cement wishes to inform the public and its distributor and stakeholders that it has not and does not intend to increase its prices of cement now or near future.
So the news is
materials opposite. Right? So it's but the marketers are saying that you say you've not increased, but the prices
the market is saying something different
else. So where is the disparity coming from?
Okay.
So we'll just keep an eye on it, because people need to build houses. So we have to have more people out of rented apartments. Honestly, the cost of living, especially in Lagos, I don't know about any other places, Abuja and Lagos, they are quite expensive. So
I think Port Harcourt too.
And Port Harcourt as well. So let's try to get more people out of.
They know it.
out of rented.
Speak your mind.
How did Premium Times put the headline?
More
hardship.
Yes, more hardship.
Which of the Nigerians exactly? Is this the hardship? We're talking of food. People are talking of cement. I mean, it's a big deal. It's a problem.
No, housing is a big deal.
In the grand scheme of things, that headline is just a big
sensational. All right, so we'll take a break now. When we return, I say we're going to be about 400 million people. At this current rate, we never even do anything. But that's what we'll call our conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamode Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamode Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Hello and welcome. It's Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime. Nimasa This Week is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Statutorily mandated to ensure that there is regulation and promotion of matters affecting our waters. NIMASA bears responsibility for search and rescue, shipping development, and ship registration.
NIMASA This Week, the voice of maritime, showing on this channel.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, the current population of Nigeria in 2021 is about 211,400,708, a 2.55% increase from 2020. The population of Nigeria in 2020 was about 206,139,589, a 2.58% increase from 2019. Now, according to macrotrend.net, Nigeria's population has been increasing rapidly for at least the last 5 decades due to very high birth rates, quadrupling its population during this time. Now, growth was fastest in the 1980s after child mortality dropped rapidly and has slowed slightly since then as the birth rate has declined slightly. By 2050, it is forecast that the population in Nigeria will double compared to 2019, reaching over 400 million people. How ready are we for this? And what will be the impact on our economy? Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. Elsie knows my routine. I just want to hear your thoughts before I bring in our guest. You must have thoughts, you, Auntie. Are you not going to contribute to the population?
Me? I'm not sure yet.
Really?
I'm not sure.
As you find like this?
Like you don't want kids?
Is it by Friday? I'm not sure yet, honestly.
Go ahead, please.
Okay.
But I think we need to watch it. I think that many people do not care and they do not understand the impact. And this thing I always hear about, long term, I say this thing a lot. Now God, they take care of children. It doesn't make sense to me, because I don't know how you want to have a child and you don't have a plan, right? And you just feel like, oh, I have to reach out to somebody to help me. I mean, if you are alone and you are reaching out to people to help you, I think it's a bit easy to help you, right? I'm not saying be a burden in that regard, but when you begin to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I saw a tweet, I think I shared that tweet with you, of a guy who said that they helped a man take care of his family because he lost his job during the pandemic. The wife got pregnant, and then the hospital bill and all that, they understood, right? They are not even married, and then suddenly he's coming back again to say the wife... So not school fees.
She was pregnant again.
Not pregnant again. She's in the hospital and she needs to be released. So she has given birth again.
That's what I'm saying. She got pregnant again.
She don't even get birth body again. So we need to watch it. And I know when we talk about these things, it feels like you don't want to be productive, as the Bible, they quote, go into the world and multiply. But we need to multiply with sense.
Multiply with sense.
For me, I would say, okay, there's this story. I think the biggest culprit when it comes to population control is people in rural areas, in the villages. Because I'll tell you the story. My grandmother's one of her close friends. She's late now. When she was alive, she would tell us stories that, and her kids would, agree to it, that she went to the doctor one time and said that she had 9 kids, and she was ready to have more. She went to the doctor and said that. So the doctor told her there are a lot of eggs, that she still has a lot of eggs. So she was like, I need to harvest all of them because she rears chicken, so she does poultry. But yeah, a lot of people are ignorant about family planning, and it's just because the people in the cities, you have 2. A lot of people are settling for 2, 3, but in the rural area, that's where you see them having 7,
15.
And then they're exactly, and then they're sending them out as house helps and all that. So the major focus should be
for me, I think my
down there.
biggest worry in all of this conversation, I look at what we've put on ground in terms of infrastructure. I really do not even understand where this corridor. We're talking about housing just now. I don't know where this population boom, where they will put all of us. You understand? As it is right now, there are many people that are homeless on the streets and all of that. So if this truly does happen, and we see that the infrastructural growth is not commensurate to the kind of, it doesn't look like they're envisaging, right, what the population boom will look like. So tell me how, on this Lekki-Ekpe Expressway, because we know that a lot of young families moved down towards Ekpe and all of that. A lot of young families are building houses, buying houses. We know the gridlock that we face on that road. I hear that they are building an alternate road. I'm just saying that, okay, just imagine if these numbers now double with this same infrastructure. It's just going to be chaotic, right? But it's not for me to say. We'll bring in our guests. Zeal Akaraiwe currently runs, is it Graham Blake Advisory, a financial advisory firm focusing on risk management using derivatives, and has over 20 post-graduation experience in the financial sector with working experience spanning across Lagos, London, and Lusaka. I know Zeal is going to kill me, but it's fine. Zeal has a unique outlook to life, which I love, and has always, he would always leave you more knowledgeable than he met you. At least I can attest to that. So he's joined us live in studio. Thank you so much, Zeal.
Thank you very much.
Before you murder me, I already murdered myself. How do I pronounce your firm?
It's Graham Black.
Graham Black. Oh,
yes.
Okay. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So you heard our conversation about this population, what's it called? The population explosion that we're experiencing right now in Nigeria, and what we're saying about the future in 2050 rather. The forecast is that we're going to be about 400 million. Currently, we are over 211 million. That's according to the statistics. So, what do you think the impact of this would be? How do we even start the conversation first? When you hear population boom in Nigeria, what comes to your mind first before I come back to you?
Well, I don't know how to answer that. But controlling the population is something that we need to do. I'm not sure we have the means on how to do it. But that's something we really need to sit down to figure out. The second thing is we actually need to be sure what the population is, because we really and truly do not know what the population is?
Well, because according to the report, it says that the last census was in 2006, right?
Yes.
And that gave us a population figure at 140 million. And over 15 years now, there has been really no census. Some of these things are just estimated numbers that they're giving us, right? So I really don't know. If you say whether we should know the figures, how do we even start that conversation?
A census needs to be done. Now, okay, let me rephrase that. A credible census needs to be done. I don't think we're as many as the population figure says. So the 2006 census was the last census we did. After that, what we should typically do, because your population is, once you've counted, your population is rather straightforward to figure out. It's your births minus your deaths and immigration. I mean, it's a formula you use.
Yeah.
So if you were to register every birth and death, after your population census, you don't need to do another census. You just check how many people were born, how many people died, how many people immigrated, how many people emigrated. Whatever the figure is, you know what the population in country is. But we don't register all our births, we don't register all our deaths. So what the Population Commission does is use a formula. Roughly, this is the birth rate, this is the death rate, rough estimate. So we grow the population by a fixed, if I remember correctly, 2.5% a month per annum. Something along those lines, yes.
So that's probably why that figure said, you know, it's just about 2.58, 2.5
per annum for since
so just keep doing that. But what do you think this gap is, right? Since we really do not know, what do you think the gap is on our economy?
I mean, if look at it this way, you have a house and you need to budget how much food to buy for the house and how much to set aside for school fees and how much to set aside for everything. And they ask you, how many of you are in the house? And you say, I do now, I'm just setting aside some money. It won't work. It simply won't work. There is no way you can do any type of planning regarding resources without knowing what you're planning for. So for instance, there's this figure being thrown around that we have somewhere between 10 and 13 million out of school children. How many teachers do we need for them? How many schools do we need for them? Where are they? What's their geographical spread? If we don't have that data, then we would never solve the problem. So that's what the data is for. The data is meant for planning, but unfortunately, not very many people that actually do the planning believe in data.
Okay, so help us understand the importance of these data statistics on decision making and governance. How does it work?
Let's take education, which is the crux of development, right? And let's assume we have 10 million children out of school and we want to put them back into school. Or let me rephrase. Let's say we have children out of school that want to put back into school. How many schools? If you don't know how many children and how many teachers, how many arms. If you don't know that, how do you start to plan? So, for instance, if you have 10 million children out of school and you decide, you know what, for quality education, given where we are, okay, let me not say quality, given where we are, we need a teacher-student ratio of 1 to 50. If you have 10 million children out of school, then that means you need 200,000 teachers. Where are you going to get them from?
They're not available.
Now, if you now say, okay, you know what, we need 200,000 teachers for this teacher-student ratio so that we can get these children back in school, at least not even school, back to learning. We need 200,000 teachers. These teachers, we don't have them. So we need to train teachers. For teachers, okay, we need a teacher-teacher trainer ratio of 10 to 1. Okay? So we need 20,000 people to train 200,000 teachers to train 10 million children. That's what you plan. So where do we get that 20,000 from? Do we then import them? Whatever you do, you then have a number to work with. What's the cost of these 20,000 professional trainers that will train the 200,000? So we know they will train them over the next 3 years. Over that 3-year period, what are we going to do regarding the accessories for education? The classrooms, the curriculum, all of that. Then you can put numbers on that. Then you can plan and say, to get 10 million children out of school, this is how much we need over the next 10 years. If you don't have that figure, then it's a non-starter. And anything else that's said is lip service.
Wow. Our statistics are so unreliable, I'm telling you. But now my question is, obviously you know about the media regulatory thing that we borrowed from the Asian countries, maybe China and a couple of other countries. So looking at this population, I would like to ask you, what kind of population do you think Nigeria has exactly? And do you think it is about time that we maybe put some population control like China did for a while, and maybe have just 2 or 3 kids, put a ban on the amount of children you can have?
Well, I think our population is far less than we think it is, personally.
Okay.
I'll explain why later. Do we need to put measures in place like what China did? Yes. Do we have the capacity to? No.
No.
So for instance, if you tell somebody, don't have more than 2 children, and he has 3, what will you do?
How do you monitor?
How do you monitor? And what will you do if he does not? So don't forget, it's a negotiation, it's a give and take. If, for argument's sake, we had a universal health care system, and we tell people, for your 2 children that we register, health care is free, education is free. Anything more than that, you will pay a penalized amount for that. Then somebody's going to wait and think,
Please.
it's not worth it.
Let me just stay within
Yeah,
the...
so you have to give something to be able to get people to comply. In our circumstance, what are we going to give? So if you tell somebody don't have more than 2 children and he goes and has 6, what exactly will the government do? Take
Exactly.
the 4? You don't have the capacity to take the 4 from him, and if you take the 4 from him, he would actually be happy. Because, quite a few people have children they can't take care of, and they go to the orphanage and drop them willingly and go and visit them every week because the orphanage will take care of them. So yes, we need to put measures in place, but do we have the capacity to put those measures in place? That's the issue.
Checks and balances.
Yes.
There's a video we saw of Paula de Ferrasing, talking about our census, our population. I'd like to call for that video because it's quite interesting what he said, in that video. Maybe they'll just play that, then I'll ask my question.
I've mentioned the economy, I've mentioned culture. You've got to go into politics and government deliberately. By the way, if we don't fix some of Nigeria's problems today, that is this INEC problem. I will say it plainly. INEC, put me in trouble if you like. It is a fraud. The numbers in Nigeria as far as census are concerned and as far as election is concerned are a lie. And if nobody will speak up about it, the righteous should speak. And our righteousness is not of ourselves. It is of him, and he will protect. Hallelujah. It is important. It is skewed now so that where the numbers are not properly reflected in our voting. This is the only country in West Africa where you move from the ocean to the desert and the numbers decrease, or rather, they increase. The only country. It's the only country in the world where you move from a large body of water to little or no water, and the numbers increase. It was not Nigerians that started it. It was the parents of Nigeria who were not good parents.
Okay, so we've heard this. A lot of people actually buy his this same sentiment. A lot of people are of the opinion that our numbers, everything that he said in the video. So we're asking, is this even true? Is there any fact in it? And why do people feel this way whenever it comes to things that has to do with our population, and especially when they tie it to politics? But let me not go to politics. But you know the drill now.
Yes.
There's a particular part in the country where they are more populated, that their numbers are always high.
Yes. Yes. So what he said, I would have so much preferred, when you say so, the only way you can say something is a lie is by
data. Back it up.
Exactly,
Facts.
back it up. You can't just say this is a lie. What is the truth then? And if you don't have the truth, or if you don't have the capacity to have the truth, at least give some data that says, look, based on this. It's not based on anything, which is what I don't like about what he said. But I have looked at these numbers previously, and like I said earlier, I don't believe our population is as much as we say it is.
Really?
No, I don't. So there are different things you can look at. I looked at a lot of, well, not say a lot, I looked at different numbers that should be correlated with the population, and there is little or no correlation. So for instance, I looked at population by state. I looked at certain metrics that are not, there is no benefit in manipulating, like diesel consumption, petrol consumption, kerosene consumption, mobile phone lines per state, internet penetration per state, BVN per state as well as PVC per state. And you notice that, I mean, people always come up with the excuse that, oh, you know what, if it's a poor state, they don't have cars, the PMS consumption is not going to be high, the kerosene consumption is not going to be high, they cook with firewood, they don't have bank accounts. And those are all valid arguments. But there's a place where the entire correlation broke down in a very absurd way. So, for instance, our workforce, by definition, is people between the ages 16 to 65 that are available to work. Doesn't mean you have a job, but you're available. So if you drop out of school at 15, at 16, you're part of the workforce, you're not going to school. Then your voting population is 18 and above. Now in Nigeria, the percentage of Nigerians that are older than 65 is less than 3%. It's actually like 1.something%. The percentage of Nigerians between the age bracket of 16 to 18 is 10%. 10% of our population is in that age bracket.
That's a huge number.
Yes. So you would find that it's, I won't say unusual, it's statistically impossible to have a larger voting population than workforce. Statistically, right? So what they're saying is people between 18 and above, which is the total population of 18 and above plus 1%, is more than 16 to 64, which is plus 10%. It doesn't make sense. There are 14 states in the country where this anomaly exists. It is an anomaly to have a higher voting population than workforce, because that you can vote means you are 18 and above. That you're in the workforce is 16 to 65. Now, you have people in the 18 and above bracket that are not available to work, which means they are students. That's the only other explanation. Now, there are 14 states that have this anomaly, and those 14 states are also the states with the lowest
voting turnout.
No, lowest
labor force.
Education turnout.
Oh.
So these people are not in school, they are not at work, but they are available to vote. The coincidence, which is absurd, is all the 14 states that have this anomaly, whatever the reason for the anomaly, I mean, it can exist, but 14 states is a lot to have the same issue. And all the 14 states are in the north. All of them. So it's not like most are in the north. All 14 that have this singular anomaly are in the north. That's something that really needs to be investigated. It's a huge anomaly.
But those are the places where voting
their child
numbers,
voters, yes,
spikes. So shouldn't there be some level of truth inside the conversation that it's a lie?
Well, like I said, you need to be able to have really strong facts. Yes.
But they are not willing to have this fact. You know what? Let's take a break, because I don't think the government is ready for us to face
the government.
Let's go on a break. We'll be right back. You're just tuned in. We're having an amazing chat with Zil. He's asking me jam question. As we're discussing the impact of our population surge on our economy. Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. Elsie, I don't have an answer for Zil, please.
You need to find answer.
Who is government?
Yeah.
Hey, question.
Okay, so I think I still want to take us back to understanding the implication of this 400 million in 2050
by 2050
on Nigeria as it is now, because I don't think that we would have an automatic different crop of leaders by that time. So what is going to happen? Like, how worried should we be? And maybe that worry would make us begin to think better.
Well, I'm not a fan of worrying, but but I understand what you're saying. It's a huge population. And a lot of people will tell you that a nation's greatest asset is the population. Well, but there's a slight tweak to that. There's an assumption made. So that's not the nation's greatest asset. A nation's greatest asset is an enlightened and educated population. Our issue is not as much the population as it is the population is not educated, not enlightened, and therefore cannot produce. That's our issue. The issue is not how many we are. The issue is we're not producing enough for how many we are. So instead of tackling the population problem as a problem, why don't we convert it to an asset? If we educate people and they produce, then that huge number becomes an asset. The issue we have is that we don't have educated people. If we use our poverty index, give or take, we say about 70% of Nigerians live below the poverty line. If you live below the poverty line, I can safely assume you live below the educated line. Now, okay, let me rephrase. You live below the schooling line because you can be educated outside school. But it's not easy to find people in poverty that are out of school but educated. So we can safely assume about 70% of the population is ill-educated, suboptimally educated. So that's the issue. When they stop being dependent, can they fend for themselves? They can't. If they can't fend for themselves, even though they are no longer dependent on guardians, they are dependent on the system. It's the pressure on that system that is the problem. Now, we are not increasing productivity. I looked at what's called the PMI index, the Purchasing Managers Index. Over the last 6 years, it's gone down about 2%. It's not a good proxy for what to produce. People say GDP is better, but basically, whatever we're producing over the last 6 years has reduced. Yes. And population has gone up. It's going to cause a squeeze. What we need to do is produce more. If we were producing at an optimal rate or with high efficiency, then and population was still increasing and we couldn't take care of that, then that's a really big problem. But we're not producing optimally. Most of our factories are anywhere between 40 to max 60% capacity. And those are the factories we have. Not to talk of the factories we don't even have. So the real issue is not as much a population issue as it is a productivity issue. If you have a house and you have 20 children and you live in a 1-bedroom and you earn 100,000 a month, it becomes a problem. But somebody else has 20 children and he lives in a 30-room house and earns 40 million a month. The problem is not the number of people. The problem is that you are
capacity
to produce and provide for the number of people. And that's what Nigeria has an issue with. It's not the number of population is not the problem. The issue is we have not invested in equipping the population to be productive, and the way you do that is through education.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to take you back to what you said when you were answering my earlier question, that we have less population than we are made to believe, and you were going
That's my opinion.
Okay. Well, you said you were going to tell me, tell us why you have that opinion.
So.
Yes.
So if you look at all the numbers, if you look at Nigeria's numbers historically, there's a rule of thumb for everything that is counted or allocated by us. The North has 55%, the South has 45%, give or take. If you go through the history of our presidential elections, the winner will have anywhere between 52 to 55% of votes. The loser gets anywhere between 45 or 48. If you check the population, it's the same thing. If you check the number of states, you have 36 states, North and South. You have 6 geopolitical zones. 36 is divided by 2 easily. 36 is divided by 6 easily. But you have 19 states in the North and 17 in the South. Again, 52-48. The only thing that is not in that ratio is the land mass. Because, well, nobody will divide the country. You know, the land mass is 70-something% North and 20-something% South. But everything that is counted, and don't forget, our resources, the federal allocation, is whether we one way or the other, it is done by population. The person who wins election, the winner, is done by population. How your local governments are given is done by population. And so if you check it, there is an incentive to inflate population figures, right? The only place there is no incentive to inflate population figures, when you check those figures, the correlation always breaks down, always. We have about, last time I checked, 45 million BVNs in the country. Okay? People will say, not everybody's, we have so many unbanked. Yes, I do have a lot of unbanked. So even if you assume the 45 million BVNs are for 18 and above, then multiply that by 2 for those that are younger, then you have 90 million people, and then the unbanked is half of that. So there is something, but I don't even agree with those figures. BVN is the only one that's completely independent of any need, any incentive to inflate, and it's 45 million. Like I said, a lot of people are not banked, we agree, a lot. But whatever that number is it times 4 of our population? I don't think so.
And last time we had a guest on that, he was saying our banked is, I think, 60%. We have 40% no banked.
No banked, yeah. But I was going to even ask, okay, so what do we look at as a solution? Because...
Sorry, what's the problem?
No, we have a problem.
Yes, which one?
I believe that we're not ready for the population boom that is coming, right, infrastructure-wise. And, I mean, the economy is not ready for that. So I liked what you said about it's not the problem of the population per se, it is the problem of the capacity to manage the population, which is what we have. I mean, you have a lot of people, a family of 15 living under 1,000 naira per day. Like, does it make sense? It doesn't make sense to me. 1,000 naira would not even feed me for an hour, but a family would feed on that. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So how do we turn this to our favor? And probably, like, because everybody's waiting. It's looking like we are going to fail big and we're going to fail big time with this, right? But numbers are not always the problem. It is what we do with the numbers that we have. So how do we turn this to our favor to say, you know what, this population is going to come whether we like it or not? So how do we tweak it to ensure that it comes and it becomes an addition to our economy?
I mean, basic thing is education. There's not much you can do with
So you talked about education.
Population.
Are you talking about schooling in terms of formal education, or you're talking about education in broad?
I'm talking about education. Schooling is one part of education, the formal education. There's the informal. But the point is, you need to educate people. Whether you want to use schools, what we know is schooling, right? Well, schooling is not the same as education. A lot of people, by evidence of our society, are schooled but uneducated. Most of us. Some people are educated but unschooled. But we need to get a large number of our population educated. And by my personal definition of education is the ability to ask the relevant questions to get answers to solve societal problems. Once you can do that, you're fine. We don't do that at all. So even people that go to school come out and are not educated, they don't know how to ask questions, they don't know what questions to ask. And so they don't contribute towards the development of themselves, not to talk of the economy. So if we keep growing an uneducated population, then that is where the problem is. So the question is, what can we do to bring education to people quickly at a standard that allows them to fend for themselves? So for instance, we should, and also, sorry, before I go there, also, we need thinking of the most polite way to say, we need the government to act in a slightly more cohesive manner in terms of direction. Because on the one hand, you need people educated so that they can fend for themselves and not live off the state. And so they start their own businesses. But at the same time, the state is harassing, for lack of a better word, people doing their own businesses. So there's quite a lot of things we need to do in harmony. And the other thing is, we tend to plan, very unfortunately, for the problems we have, we need to be planning in number of generations. We need to say, okay, in 2 generations, which is maybe 40 years, we would have solved this problem and all that. But we tend to plan in 4 years, 4 year cycles. There is nothing
that can happen
that can be done in 4 year cycles, except to maintain status quo. That's all you can do in 4 years, maintain status quo. Because if you want to get 10 million children out of school, back into school, you can't do that in 4 years. The training for their trainers may take you 3 years or 4. In fact, finding the people to do it may take you 2 years. Then you start, so we have to be talking, okay, in the next 10 years, and what is that? We have the same problem with housing, even though very unfortunately, the Minister of Housing said we do not have a housing deficit. Even though mathematically, I know what he was saying, but he was being very disingenuous in that statement. But again, it's all about planning. You get everybody homed in 4 years, it's not possible. You have to be talking, okay, in 10 years, in 15 years, in 20 years, these are the milestones we're going to do. These are the laws we're going to put in place. These are the resources we're going to use.
Okay, let me take this message from Benson. He says, good evening, ladies. Beautiful hair, I must say. Figures
Did he
like...
say which hair he was referring to?
No, he did not. Figures like water is incompressible. Until leadership comes to terms with these facts, planning and solutions to the citizens may remain a mirage. Yeah.
All right, so I have one says, hi, congratulations to Ways with this educative programs. I'm listening to Mr. Zeal, and I must say this is one of our brilliant minds. Clap, clap, clap.
Ekutan, I think he's our
Population,
Kenyan man.
sorry, not done, not done.
Not done.
And he goes on to say, population with data analysis is a plus. Yeah.
All right, so this is from Rafael Akori from Zaria. He says, a growing population can generate economic growth for a country that has ideal system in place. Population boom should be seen as an advantage to any developing country when the population is made of able youth. So there is a need for deliberate action towards industrial revolution, which should be channeled towards making our production sector effective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on that point, let me say something very interesting. Also, when I was talking about cohesion, I found a polite way to say it now. Our government, let me use Lagos State. Right? Lagos State population is growing really fast, and we need to control it. But the government doesn't seem to understand that the policies it has are contrary to its intentions, and we have that a lot of times. So let me use the UK. The UK, Canada, a lot of China now, they want their population to grow. And so they are giving incentives to people to have more children. So in the UK, maternity leave is 9 months.
9 months, yes, so full pay.
You know why? Because they
then
want
the extra
you,
3 months half pay.
Yes, in the US, they don't want their population to grow. So maternity leave is 6 weeks. So it's very inconvenient to have children. And in the UK, it's very convenient to have children. Canada was opening their doors. Everybody come inside. You want to, just come on. As long as, I know they pick, as long as you're educated, you can work, you can add, come in. Lagos State has a booming population that we need to control. But Lagos State gives maternity leave of 6 months. You are now giving incentive for people to have children when your intention is to reduce population. This is like a cat chasing its tail. It's not going to go anywhere.
You think this is about copying policies that work in other countries, but we don't exactly understand how it affects us? He's drinking water. Okay.
Okay. So I want to
not talking my mouth full.
I want to talk about population and the productivity you mentioned.
Yes.
If we're going to get a good number of the population educated and productive, like you have said, you also mentioned earlier that we need to understand how many we are so we can plan in order to make that happen. And the last census, like we said, was in 2006.
Yes.
I think that a census is due, right? But do you think we can get it right? We are ripe for it, but because all the census we've had, you hear, oh, it's indecisive, it's inaccurate, we are being marginalized, it's not done right. It's always been plagued with one issue or the other. And collecting data in Nigeria is a big deal. So do you think we can get our census right in Nigeria?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think so. We can get it right. Technology has changed a lot. Okay. Now, I do know that there is a proxy for counting people using satellite technology. All right. So you can use heat mapping, and there's technology. You want to have an idea how many people are in an area. You can use satellite heat imagery to calculate that. It won't be exact, but it will give you some idea. So that's the starting point. The more important part of population is not just 100 million or 300 million. It's the breakdown of the demographic.
God, we bless you.
That is what. That is really what we need. Yes. Now, one of my biggest disappointments is our National Population Commission. You go to their website, and you know what population figure they are quoting? 2006 census. This is our. And then when they tell you more results or more information, you are very excited and you click on it. Our populationcommission.gov.ng website, our government website. I want to know our population, and I click on more information. It takes me to worldometers.org or .com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, seriously? This is like this is like INEC. You go to INEC, how many people voted, and it takes you to United Nations website. You know, you are the custodian of data for population, and you're on your website officially.
You are rooting
It's like
somebody else.
wow.
It doesn't make any sense. It tells me we're not serious. So, first of all, to know how many we are, to break down that demographic, we have to understand the importance of the data. Other than NBS, I'm not sure there's any institution that really understands it.
Okay, so since we're staying on data, I just wanted to add that how do we marry immigration? I mean, there's the NIN now, the National Identification Number. You know, how do we marry those ones? Driver's license. How do we marry it? Would it help in any way to be able to get this population census right?
It should, because my PVC is biometric, my BVN is biometric, my NIN is biometric. I mean, so with all of that, there should be a central check and balance system. There should be. We intend for NIN to be that, but we've already seen there are significant flaws in NIN. But I mean, we don't have to get it perfect on day one, you know. But what we need is something that's accepted as credible for planning, and then over time we can get it perfect. But for now, we don't even have anything that we agree is credible.
Sanzi, you have one final question?
Yes, well, I think I would just put out the highlights of what he said that stood out for me is the fact that the problem is not really the population. Our population is an advantage with reference to the countries trying to increase their population. The challenge is that we have a lot of uneducated people and poor planning. And then he said something about planning for generations. And I think that's a major leadership issue because we have a challenge of continuity in Nigeria. So after your 4-year term or 8 years term is over, you come in with another agenda, not prioritizing like what the previous person in leadership had already started. So I think that's a really good highlight for me. It's one of a good way to solve our population
I like the
issues.
generational plan, honestly.
Yeah, planning for generations.
This thing ever since that we can't be talking 8 years. You know, that's why he's not a fan of 2023. Like when you are thinking of changing, 2023. It's not in my mouth. You know what is happening in 2023. When the time comes, you will find out. You know, so I mean, it's something that we've heard, but we'll find a way to probably beg to bring you back, because I would like for us to find a proper blueprint or something. I don't know, but there has to be a solution that we can. No, yes, like for instance, I like what he said about, you know, it's not just the population, breaking down the demographics. So, if, for instance, they can be 18 to 20-year-olds, but they are not willing to go to school, but they can learn a vocational skill. What are the challenges that we have? Do we need bricklayers? Do we need these? We will train them, and they begin, and you pay them well. You know, so. There's a lot of things that can be done, you know, even with the dilapidated, what's it called? Infrastructure and the educational structure that we have. We can actually work with it, but it has to be deliberate.
That's it. It has to be deliberate.
Yes.
We've been doing very haphazard everything.
Yes, it has to be deliberate.
I just wish we can run Nigeria from here, but okay, I'm looking out to
No,
20.
don't worry. We are here. We are here. We are looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Zale.
Thank you.
I hope you come back again.
I hope so.
That kind of answer, we don't like it, you.
If you invite me again, I'll come.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We had a fantastic conversation. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Elsie. Thank you, Sanzi. All right, so before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram. It's at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, we're planning a huge giveaway. Do you like what we're wearing? We're giving you some. All right, just to say thank you to you for believing in the Ways brand and following the conversation. So do well to follow us. It's at PlusTvAfrica. So follow us now. Like, share, comment, and invite your friends and family to join the conversation and follow us as well. All right, so if you missed today's quote, here it is again. Overpopulation in various countries has become a serious threat to the well-being of many people and a grave obstacle to any attempt to organize peace on this planet of ours. That's from Albert Einstein. We'll see you tomorrow as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.